Mark Twain said, "Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness, and many of our people need it sorely on these accounts. Broad, wholesome, charitable views of men and things cannot be acquired by vegetating in one little corner of the earth all one's lifetime. One must then think that travel in all its myriad forms must also lend itself to unique growth depending on the medium one finds themselves passing through. Water teaches a certain subject, pavement another, and, of course, the mountains and forests edify all those who traverse their bounds. Many who step foot on the Appalachian Trail with the intention of through-hiking do so as their first, perhaps only, great journey of a lifetime. So all the more interesting to see how those well-seasoned in adventure, adaptability, and overcoming difficulties of the unknown come to find life on trail."
Live, like I said last time, we were recording, and we are with Jessica and Largo. Is that correct?
Correct.
I'm super thankful you guys volunteered to do this. That you're spending your time with me, and time is precious for you guys because y'all are on the move. It seems like a lot. So I don't know exactly where to start with that, but where you guys at in your travels right now?
So you want me to take that one?
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
So right now we are actually sitting in Cusco, Peru, and we've been here for about how long have we been here? 3 or 4 days.
4 days, yeah.
And before that, I was in Miami for 2 days, and Largo and his dad were in France. We were all in France for 4 months. And we're here right now because part of our business is that we host group travel trips, and we have a group trip here starting on Saturday, which we're going to actually hike through the Andes Mountains for 4 days on the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu, and we're considering this our shakedown hike. I guess
One
that's
heck of
kind
a
of wacky,
shakedown.
but
We're very clearly unprepared.
well, yeah, I was gonna say we've done this hike before. Largo was, I don't know, it was like 8 years ago. So we were all a lot younger. And we did it with just Largo, my partner, his dad, and his older sister, who is in university now. And so now we're revisiting it and bringing a group through our business to do it. So that's where we're sitting right now at Cusco, Peru.
Yeah.
That is so cool. This is more like a shakedown for the PCT or CDT in terms of elevation. That is something y'all have had to deal with while you've been there, right? I remember you messaged me. Y'all were trying to acclimatize, right? That's how you say it,
Yeah.
to the elevation there, right?
Yeah, it's pretty intense. The last time we were here, we were living in Quito, Ecuador, and we were at a high elevation. And even coming here, we still felt it a bit. Will and I did. Not, Largo and his sister didn't really feel it. And this, we felt kind of dizzy and just really weird. This time, we felt it through headaches and just exhaustion. And what
I
else?
don't know. I felt a little out of breath recently,
Oh,
just kind of going upstairs and stuff. But like, generally, I think that I haven't gotten that affected by it.
yeah. So, and I'm feeling out of breath as well. It's high altitude, but we're gonna go slow. I mean, we're only hiking, I think, it's under 30 miles, and it takes 4 days because the altitude is so high. And it's kind of weird to say it's our shakedown hike, but we'll get into it later. But we kind of planned this last minute, so we can dig into that deeper because I'm sure you have some questions about that. But we're happy to be here. We're happy to be eating Peruvian food, and we're excited to get on the trail in like a month, and hopefully everything and all the gear works for us while we're out on the trail because there's no stores nearby.
Hopefully.
I don't. The only Peruvian food that I know is that green spaghetti. It's good. I'm originally from South Florida, so we had a
Oh,
much
you are? Okay.
larger selection of um, diversity in cuisine. Um, so I have to keep in mind, I I I I really envy your lifestyle, but I also have to keep in mind the people who are watching this. Um, it's and not just the people watching this, but even me now. I'm living more of a conventional lifestyle. So to kind of get an introduction to your family, right? And it's you, it's your partner, your husband, right?
Yeah, that's
Will.
Will.
Okay, we've got Largo, and
Yep.
you have another
And then
sibling.
Mr. Avalon.
Okay, and as mentioned, you guys are fully nomadic. Is that correct?
We are. We left the United States in 2014, so we're on our 10th year of full-time travel. And those of you who are watching, listening, no, we're not independently wealthy, not at all. We actually work full time, probably more than full time. Our kids go to school online. Avalon is launched; she goes to university in the United States, but we do work and travel, and we've been doing it, yeah, for 10 years.
It'd be so much easier if we were independently wealthy, though.
Right, it would be so much easier. I think it's going to come any day, Largo, any day.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I mean, I think we see a lot of individuals, right, online. You meet a lot of individuals when you travel that are able to have this, uh, what's the word? To just be able to have the freedom, right, to do what they want,
Right.
to go where they want to go. And so normally we don't associate family units with that same kind
Yeah.
of autonomy and same kind of freedom. I want to just kind of just start there. What's that been like for for you as a family unit to be able to indulge in this kind of lifestyle?
So I guess I'll give my perspective first, and then Largo can give his because I'm sure it's going to be a little different than mine.
Yeah.
Um, so when we actually decided to start full time traveling, my husband and I, partner, whatever you want to call him, whatever is the correct, um, um, we didn't start traveling because we wanted to do it. Of course, we love travel, but our why was because of our children. We had three reasons that we wanted to travel with them. We What just happened?
It's a
Did we
ghost.
lose you? Oh,
Somebody was
sorry,
calling.
sorry, sorry about that. So
You're good.
we had three reasons that we wanted to travel full time, and it was completely based on our children. We wanted to spend we wanted to teach them about the world out in the world. We wanted to create a stronger family bond, and we wanted to create memories and experiences over buying stuff. And so our goal was to spend as much time with them as we could and see the world while they were still under our roof. And then when they turned 18, if they wanted to launch and go off and do their own thing, we had given them the wings to do so. And of course, we would have loved for them to stay past 18, but our daughter was ready to go to university when she turned 18, when she graduated from high school. And now she's off on her own adventures in her second year university. So um, from a parenting perspective, it was and a family perspective and just having children and connecting with them deeply, it was the best decision we've ever made for our family, ever. We've made some bad decisions along the way. We're definitely not perfect parents, and there's been bumps along the way. But I would just do it all over again. It's been just such a magnificent experience. It's been hard, it's been really, really hard. Our more conventional, traditional life was so much easier, but it's just been worth it, just tenfold. So, from a family perspective, that's kind of the mom perspective. Largo, your perspective,
Yeah, no, I definitely say that
and remember what I
traveling.
told you to say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. No,
yeah.
but I definitely say.
Right. Cut. That's not what we rehearsed.
Yeah, no, but I definitely say that traveling like this has definitely impacted me very in a very good way. I've definitely had experiences that take years for people who live kind of a stationary life to experience, and I definitely say that that has affected me in kind of the long run. I'd say that I am very. I don't know if this sounds very obnoxious, but I would like to think of myself as very kind of well traveled and very kind of cultured. I don't know if that's a little boisterous, but yeah.
You could be boisterous. Own
Well,
it.
I
Own
would say
it.
that's
Own it.
something that you have over 98% of Americans, and specifically
And I
Americans.
think
Yeah.
something that he didn't mention because it's so just normal for him, but he has a tremendous, tremendous bond with his sister. They're best friends.
Yeah.
And from a parenting perspective, I mean, that all the hard days when there's really a hard day, I'm just like, I look at them and I'm like, look at these two, look at their relationship. Like, this is
Yeah.
just amazing. And all we did was just change our setting. So it's not for everyone, and we clearly don't look at a stationary, more conventional lifestyle and parenting style negatively. There's so much pluses in any lifestyle choice that we make. This just really worked well for us, and I'm so glad we did it.
Yeah, and I'd
Yeah.
also say that the bond that I formed with my sisters actually helped me out very well in kind of life. I'd say that it's a very useful tool to have.
Yeah.
I have one
That's
question. Am I supposed to be looking at that camera or that one, Largo?
That one.
That one? I've been looking at the wrong one. Okay. Oops.
no, that's
Oops.
super neat, man. I like the way that you described um and I think your mom also described it as your upbringing and your education, right? Was it was found through experience, and that's more tangible than anything you can kind of memorize in your head in a neo-traditional educational system. um, oh God, I just had a whole thought. See, the more I talk sometimes, just the thought just completely disappears.
Hey,
um,
let it go where it goes. We're
no,
here. We're here for as long as you need us.
exactly. But no, I like the way that you described going through life, uh, experiencing experiences, I guess that'd be the best way to describe it. Because
Yeah.
I can resonate with that. I as a young adult, I traded in a lot of potential paths that could have led to either certain vocations or even universities or schools. Well, not universities, I was too dumb for that. But I trade a lot of those things in for experience. I decided to go
Yeah.
travel. I decided to remain a very curious person and indulge in working for nonprofits or going out and hiking the Appalachian Trail. And I certainly never going to regret that. So I kind of really resonated with the way you described your experiences growing up. Speaking of everything we're talking about here, I'm looking at your name tag there. It's World Towning. You guys have a pretty big platform relative, especially to my channel. Did you want to kind of plug your channel and whatever
Sure.
platforms you guys have?
So many, many years ago, way before we had a business called World Towning, we came up with this concept called World Towning, which was traveling throughout the world and immersing ourselves into towns around the world so that we would form communities and feel a deep connection to the cultures. And as a result, we have friends all over the world now. And so we call it's kind of our hometown, but it's world town. So world towning. That's kind of how the concept came up. And then I don't know, but I think the second year of living outside the US, we were living in, I think it was in Ecuador, right? When
Yeah.
dad he got a GoPro, and my partner just started videoing stuff, and then he started putting it online for family and friends to see. And then other people started to see it and like it and be like, oh wow, this is a cool lifestyle. How do you do this? Yada yada yada. And it evolved into kind of what it is now. And so it's not, it's we don't really make much money off the channel, to be honest. It's a love project. It started out as Will creating a journal of a video journal of our life for the kids, and then it evolved into kind of being a support system, or I don't like the word inspiration because I feel like saying we're inspiring people just doesn't sit right with me. Like, so it gave, other people can say it, I just don't like to say it. It gave people a look, the channel gives people a look into a life of living unconventionally, and that it's possible, because we're just ordinary people who had a big dream and just went for it. And it was a 1 year dream that has turned into a complete lifestyle choice. And so the channel evolved from that, and it's really helped a lot of people kind of see that normal people can do this, and it's got them off out of their lifestyle that they're not happy with and trying something new. And it doesn't even have to be traveling. It can be homesteading. It can be getting a divorce, whatever the case may be. They kind of take those big plunges. So we still, to this day, vlog. We're a bit behind on editing, but vlog our travels and then share them out in the world. And we have Instagram, everything's world towning across all platforms. And we just started a podcast called The Why Matters. And we chat about the why behind the things we do in life as humans. And then we throw in travel stories and stuff like that. It's not necessarily a travel podcast, but we do throw in the experiences and things that we've learned through traveling the world that enhance the story of the why of what we're talking about. And I think that's it. I mean, we have, like I said before, we host group travel trips around the world, and we have a couple other streams of income that aren't as interesting as the travel one. But yeah, if anyone's, if you guys want to follow us, awesome. If you don't, awesome. We welcome you to following us or reaching out. Or if you have any questions, we also kind of do coaching. We don't kind of do it. We do coaching with people that want to jump into this lifestyle as well. So thank you so much for letting me give a plug. I don't want to focus anymore on that because I really want to focus on how we can be of benefit and service to people watching, to get them
Absolutely.
out and hiking the AT. So
Yeah. And one of the things that I really appreciate in your response to not only talking about yourself and your platform and your family is that there's not this uh or of superiority. And I think sometimes with people, right, who choose to indulge in unconventional lifestyles, we look at people living a quote unquote what we define, right, as these free spirited people as a mundane lifestyle, and we kind of look down upon that sometimes, or at least it's easy to kind of get into that mindset. Um, but I just like the fact that you refrain from that because I've talked with others, and a lot of my experience with talking with people, my contemporaries on the Appalachian Trail, there is that kind of mindset, and so I appreciate that. Um,
Well, the longer we live like this, the more we realize how little we know and how
yeah,
there's always someone we can learn from that's doing it better or the way we want to be doing it. And we're kind of always the new kid on the block because every about 3 years we change our style of travel, and so we have like I don't say we have to be humble, but we're newbies all the time. I mean, one example is, we were 6 or 7 years into this full time travel lifestyle, and we decided to buy a boat, and we had no idea how to sail and learned to sail and set a goal to cross the Atlantic Ocean a year later. And yay, we conquered that goal. We did it.
that's dope.
But we were babies, newbies, and we still, I mean, you can sail your whole life and never know everything. So we're always learning something new and coming into a new experience. And it's really great to be like that. It keeps you humble, it keeps you honest, it keeps you kind, it keeps you sharing with others when you have more experience, and it keeps you remembering what it's like to be a beginner, right?
Yeah,
And I think that's really, really important. So thank you for recognizing that. And I really appreciate that because we've really made it an effort to kind of just still be normal. Like we are normal. Like I don't
yeah,
know why
and
we would
and
be
then and then you've got the opposite end of the spectrum with those. There's some people they're probably listening to you and they're saying, "Oh, well, I wish I could do that. I'm sure they've got it easy," and obviously you guys don't. I mean, you have to have different kinds of streams of income. You've got to make ends meet, and you face all the similar challenges that people in conventional lifestyles
we
do. I mean, you still
do.
got to
We just
feed
have
yourselves. You still
Yeah,
basic
we just have a
things.
changing backdrop, right? But we
Yeah,
still have to pay bills and taxes, and we still get sick, and we still fight, and we still have to educate our kids, and we still have to, put time into our romantic relationship and self care and mental health, and all that stuff. We just, I guess, really keep a really good attitude about it. I feel so grateful and so fortunate that we get to live like this. This is when I dreamed about my life. I could have never dreamed this. Like, when you're a teenager and you're thinking, this is what I'm going to do when I get out of this house and I'm on my own, right?
yeah,
This, I could have never dreamed this. And every day, even 10 years into it, I still have to be like, I mean, I will look at Will across the table and go like, this is our life. Can you believe it? Like, can you believe we did this? Like, it's still so shocking for me, right? And
yeah,
humbling that we're able to live like this. And like, it's not perfect, but it really works for us.
Yeah, I
yeah,
definitely say that kind of during our travel, it's helped us almost prioritize those kind of what you said, mental health, studying, stuff like that, because we have so much time, or not because we have so much time, but because we can concentrate on those things and not have other kind of overarching events that are happening, or something like that, where we have time to kind of concentrate on that.
Yeah, I think that's a really great addition that we've made the time to focus on these areas and the parts where we're struggling. And listen, we wouldn't have survived out here if we hadn't addressed the things that we were struggling in. And it
yeah.
takes I remember when we left the United States, there were some well-meaning family members who said, "Well, how are your kids going to learn teamwork?" And I was like,
Oh my
I don't
gosh.
but I was scared. I didn't know. We were newbies. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, are they not gonna learn teamwork?" I had nothing to say because I'm like, I don't know. All I knew was team sports, right? And now that I'm 10 years into this, I'm like, this would not survive if we were not a solid team, right? And
Yeah.
it took some adjustment because we lost a team member a year and a half ago when our daughter went to university. We're like, uh-oh, there's only three in the team now. Now what do we do? Who does what? How do we do this? Like just kind of
Largo, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Largo, what's your role on this team?
I would say morale, in a
Okay.
sense. I try and keep things light, but it's on. I also kind of enjoy the logistical kind of organization of it, because in general it is a lot to or kind of keep track of, and to kind of orientate well. So I think that it's kind of, we all switch roles in a sense, but generally that's kind of mine.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Largo. Largo is the humor. But like you said, we all switch roles. Like when we were crossing the Atlantic Ocean, we all did night shifts. We all equally cooked. Like our roles have to be interchangeable. If someone is sick or is just not feeling up for it, or maybe he's in final exams or something, all that kind of stuff that goes on in any lifestyle.
Wow. Yeah, so gosh, I wish I had an hour or two more. And I'm thankful that you guys are going to make your way up to Northern Virginia. We'll talk again so we can cover some of those things you just talked about that we just have to skip right over. But I want to know this kind of pressing question: out of all the areas in the world, out of all the places you've been to, from sea to shining sea, why the Appalachian Trail at this juncture of your life? And that's normally not a question that I ask people up front, right? Because there's a lot that goes into that. To your why. Um, and so I normally like to break it down into bits, and eventually you can get there. But yeah, I'll just ask it up front. Why the Appalachian Trail for you guys?
Okay, so this is multi-level here, and we'll both have different answers. Um, so let's start with why a hike, and then why the Appalachian Trail. Does that sound okay? Because
Sounds great.
it's kind of twofold, and I don't know if I have a solid answer for the second one. I'm just gonna kind of see where it goes. We
Yeah,
just decided to do this in December, so that was like a little over 2 months ago. So I know we're kind of a little bit different than most people, and I can explain how that came about. So why? Okay, let's say why a hike. We've done a lot of hiking. I was looking at the list because I thought, oh my gosh, what if he asked me? I don't remember the place, but I was looking. I'd written down every place we'd hiked, and we've probably done around 25 different hikes, from day hikes to multi-day hikes. Um, but we've actually never done a hike where we've carried our own stuff and slept out in the wild. So this is brand new for us.
Yeah, and I definitely say it's gonna be a fun adventure.
It is going to be a fun adventure because we're total newbies to that. Like we're just like, I don't know how to pitch a tent. Like we brought the tent with us to Peru and we're going to practice. Like we don't know how to, we're very newbies. The longest hike we've done is we did a 44-day hike on the Camino Frances, which it goes across the northern part of Spain. But it was very glamping hiking because we didn't carry our food because you had restaurants every couple of hours, and we slept in albergues, which are like hostels, and so it was a different experience. But during all this hiking and during that particular hike, we had a really profound, deep connection as a family, um, and it just stayed with me forever. I didn't know if we'd ever be able to do another hike, just because once our kids hit high school, they kind of had a pretty um, solid direction of what they wanted to do with their life. And so they started taking classes towards that. And I didn't know if we'd be able to do a hike like that again without restricting their goals. And that was one of our things when we started full time traveling, is that we would always align our travel and make compromises and stop if what we were doing wasn't aligning with their goals. So the idea of doing another hike seemed impossible. But it felt so good, and we all were able to connect with ourselves and as a family deeper. And just a good long freaking walk out in the woods is the best medicine ever, right? But I just didn't think it would be possible again. And so I started kind of thinking a little bit about it, and really thinking about, we have these 18 years, give or take some years, with our kids. And then they go off on their own adventures. And I thought it would be really neat to have another adventure with Largo before he launched. He's got 2 more years of school, but they're going to be pretty intense. But I knew it wouldn't be in the same fashion, because I was pretty certain Will would not be able to come with us. Um, so one reason was that I wanted to have another big adventure with him and have him have another big adventure. And then the second was, I just thought, he works really hard and works long hours on his academics, and I work about 60 hours a week on our business. And I just thought, you know what? It's be really great for both of us to get out in nature. He's got a long haul of school and university and big goals. And wouldn't it be great to just go take another walk? And so that was my reason for wanting to do a hike. And then I mentioned it to Largo, and Largo was,
I wasn't initially very into it. I definitely say that I had some oppositions. Mainly, I run a Dungeons and Dragons group online, several actually, and I wanted to keep those. And hiking and doing like online sessions would be difficult, along with kind of keeping up with my academics. It will be during like the summer and kind of getting into the first semester kind of times, but I did have very kind of set goals that I wanted to achieve, which would be to get my private pilot's license this summer. However, kind of after a little convincing, I did kind of I think that I understood that definitely this is definitely a very beneficial thing, and I think that it's going to help me in kind of just getting out in kind of the in the world, not that I haven't already, but just very kind of a lot better. And so kind of after a little rearranging with schedules, we've kind of come to an agreement at that point.
Yeah, well, so Largo was very concerned. His Dungeons and Dragons is a small business that he has, and he's the dungeon master. And then people pay to do these clubs with him, and he's worked really hard to build this business. So he didn't want to lose that. And like he said, he was concerned about his academics. So we
Oh, I'm
kind of,
sorry to interrupt.
yeah.
You mentioned academics several times. What does that look like for you, Largo? What in terms of
Absolutely,
academics?
That's
yeah.
a great question.
So right now I'm taking language courses because I both know French and I learned I speak fluently. I speak French and Spanish fluently, and I also take university courses through Embry-Riddle's online dual enrollment program. And so aside from that, I also on occasion take classes in from John Hopkins, but currently I'm trying to complete my associate's degree with Embry-Riddle, and so that is kind of taking up more of my time.
Awesome. Good on you,
Yeah,
man.
that was a great question to bring up because I'm sure some people are wondering what that is. And so with those academics,
I mean, you just sound smart, so I had to ask.
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
The Embry-Riddle dual enrollment program are 9-week classes. And so and they're intense. When he voiced his concern about what he didn't like about going on this long hike, I talked to them about doing a compromise of really gearing up. He's intense classes right now and gearing it up because he was already a bit ahead for the year. So we really amped it up at the beginning of the year, and he'll have classes ending in except for 2 classes, he'll have all of them ending by the time we get on the trail. And so that was one compromise. Was maneuvering his class schedule so that he could still stay on par with his academics because that's important to him. And then the other thing was his business. So we're going to get off the trail every Friday from probably about 2 until he runs 2 clubs on Fridays and then 1 Saturday morning. So after that club on Saturday morning, we'll get back on the trail. It's not ideal. It's going to be hard, but that if that's what it takes to find a compromise that works, and if those are the 2 big concerns of his, then we'll find a way to make it work. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I guess why the Appalachian Trail? So we haven't lived in the United States for 10 years. And so when we started telling people that we were going to do this, they said, well, why are you going to go to the US? There's plenty of hiking trails. And we looked around at some others, and I don't have any profound answer as to why the AT. It just felt like the right space. I don't know. I don't know how, and maybe I'll have a better answer for you the next time we chat. Um, I didn't it, and I knew Largo would like to go to the US because we haven't lived here in 10 years. We have a ton of friends and family. I mean, we have friends all over the world. So we're always leaving someone, missing someone, excited to see someone new. But it kind of felt nice to kind of come back and reconnect with the US a bit. His sister is goes to school in Pittsburgh, so she's not going to be far. We have family all the way from Florida up to Maine, and it just I don't know. There was just a feeling like this was the right trail. We looked at some other trails. We looked at the trails on the West Coast. We looked at a trail in New Zealand. We looked at doing a longer Camino in Europe, but we just kept coming back to the AT. It just I don't know. It's calling us for some reason. I like I said, I wish I had a more profound answer, but it just felt like this was the place that we needed to be. And we will once we're done with the trail, Largo he's mentioned that he was going to start getting his private pilot's license this summer. So and that's really important to him. So we pushed that dream to October, and he'll start in October. So we will actually spend an entire year in the United States before we go back to traveling outside the US.
And that's not to say that we won't find things that will kind of retroactively have brought us the AT, but just kind of not yet, I'd say.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's a question normally, and again, like prior to this, for me asking, I even said, well, I hesitate to ask normally because it's such a layered question, right? And
Right.
I mean, I could see the draw, especially back to the US, if you're going to do any kind of hiking, backpacking, at least from my limited travels, especially in Europe and a few other places, it's the idea of multi-day backpacking, multi-night backpacking is more prevalent here, right? You've got all the different park systems, and while you still have to traverse through private property, which isn't as much of a thing in certain countries in Europe, there's I guess there's a lot more access to public
Yeah.
land. I mean, just in terms of the enormity of the United States and the amount of land that we have. I mean, I would see why you'd want to come over here and hike here. So just for coming from a practical perspective, but
Yeah, and I think that made me think of something, and I don't know if that's what you were actually asking when you were asking the question, and I got derailed on something else, but,
yeah,
um, also doing the AT, like, we didn't really look at shorter hikes, and we didn't look at hikes like we'd already done in Europe where we sleep in albergues because we wanted to do something that elevated the adventure and something new, and this feels for me, Largo thinks Largo is like not fearful or worried about anything. For me, I'm not even remotely concerned about the mental aspect for both of us because we've done some really hard mental stuff. But the physical seems kind of big. It feels very big to me because we've never done something this big. And when I listen to other people and I read books and stuff, although we've had a lot of adventures and we're a very physically active family, people are out doing multi-week and even month-long hikes before they attempt the AT. And so that feels a little big to me. It just feels a little big. I want to be honest. Like, I'm not one who runs around with fear, but this is something completely new. It's like when we bought a sailboat and I had no idea how to sail. I'm like, this is so crazy, but I'm all in, right? And you
yeah,
don't feel any of this, do
No,
you?
I definitely say that kind of the way I've been raised and doing all these kind of very not kind of feel fear provoking activities for some people has definitely like put me in a position where I'm not that fearful of it. And I think it's just mainly because I've just lived this life for so long that it really just doesn't affect me. I know that kind of we will be able to push through. I know that if we're tired or if we get hurt, we can obviously get off at a certain point, and that I mean bears are very little of a worry for me.
I'm a little
yeah.
worried about the bears. I'm a little worried about the bears, but I've read all the things. I know the black bears don't eat people, and
I
I
mean,
know.
bears are better than the Kraken. I mean, y'all are out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Now, let me say, I used to spend a lot of time on the ocean down in South Florida. My grandfather built boats, not nearly as much as y'all have, obviously, but I've always made a comparison. I've always thought that, you know, looking out on the horizon of the ocean into the vast infinity is very similar to being on a mountaintop and looking out into the vast infinity. There's a correlation between the mountains and the sea that I like because it's so much bigger than you. It humbles you because you realize, man, you are so tiny relative to those enormous forces. So I think in terms of um you, I think the big thing physically for people is finding being able to get themselves into a routine, right? And I'm sure there were parts of your routine on the boat, on the sailboat, that were labor intensive and some that probably weren't, maybe monotonous, but it's the same thing with hiking. I mean, once you get to a certain point, you develop this baseline, right? In terms of your muscle mass and all this, then it's just you're walking all day long. And so you got to be able to pass the time and I almost describe the hiking with the trail. It's almost like a marriage union, right? Like you're married to the trail. You've got to find ways to keep it fresh, keep it lively. And I'm sure that you guys had to have done the same while you're sitting out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean.
I never even thought of that comparison, but what you just said is so true because when we were crossing the ocean, it was wonderful and it felt like a vacation, to be honest. But we're on, 4-hour shifts and was it 4-hour shifts
It
we
was
did?
3 hour shifts a day.
Yeah, and we're up through the night on our shift, and then you have one day every 5 days that you do all the cooking and cleaning by yourself that day. But there's a lot of, yeah, just looking out, we're not walking, but you're just looking out into the abyss, and there's just sameness, right?
I
So
definitely
on.
say it's a lot easier than walking. You're just sitting at the controls.
Yeah, I was
Very
gonna say,
calm.
I think it is easier than walking, but I get super seasick. So whenever we do long sails like that, I use a patch. And so it makes me a little loopy. I can still do all my responsibilities, but I'm never kind of 100% of myself. But I would agree. I think that sailing is probably it's probably easier.
Yeah.
But there
So
is a lot of comparison because you're looking out at the sea or the horizon or the moon. And I guess on the AT, you're looking at the trees, the path, a lot of the
yeah.
same. I love that.
So what is your mindset in terms of your determination, right, to do this? I mean, what if you can describe some of your, and I know it's on a spectrum, but your resolve to start and finish the trail, where are you at there? Is this something that um that y'all want to do just as long as you are enjoying it? Is this something that you are very intent on doing and finishing? Is this something that, maybe you hope you finish? What's your
We probably
mindset
have
there?
different answers on
I
that.
am I am
Do you want?
absolutely intent on finishing
I
it.
knew it. I knew it.
I
I
mean, once
knew.
I start, it will be kind of like a slight competition for
I
me.
yeah, I
But
can
yeah.
totally see that too. He may get to Katahdin before me. Oh my God, that is totally so. I feel completely different. But I will say that we as a family have set, we're pretty competitive and we've set a lot of goals. We're competitive with ourselves, not necessarily with others, like beating our own times and stuff. And so at one point, we spent 9 months living in the south of France, and the kids always wanted to live in an RV. And that's every kid's dream and every parent's nightmare. Like, who wants to go do that? And I was super resistant. I'm like, I don't know. Well, we did it and it was marvelous. It was wonderful. But partway, I don't know, maybe 6 months into it, my partner Will said, you know what? We should set a goal. Let's visit every country in Europe. And we set that goal. A couple countries we had to fly to that we couldn't take the RV to, but we spent almost 3 years RVing all around Europe, and we visited every single country in Europe, which was really, really cool. And so we've set these goals. Like when we bought the sailboat, we're like, we're going to learn to sail and we're going to cross an ocean 1 year from now. And so we've been like this as a family, which is so weird that I'm not surprised he's given the answer he's giving. But I'm super surprised that I'm going to give the answer that I'm going to give. Of course, I want to finish, but my real main goal is the experience with Largo. And so if that experience with Largo at some point he just says, "I'm done. I've gotten enough out of this. I'm done." He's not going to say that.
No.
Let's
Nope.
just say he says that, then I'm going to be okay with it because I will feel like we've gotten what we came here for. And part of me doesn't even know what I've come here for except to spend time with him and give him space in nature. And I think some other things will grow and evolve out of it. But I'm here for the journey and the experience. And I really do want to make it to Katahdin. But I also want to be present in the moment, because we get 18 years and I've only got 2 left with him. And it's not like he's gone after that, but I already know because we've already had one that has launched. And the way that we've raised them, they just want to fly and go, go and accomplish all these goals and experience life. So I want to just soak up whatever is left.
Yeah.
And because it is a goal of his to finish, I'm on board. I'm on board, but I won't lose my marbles if we don't, if that makes sense. He will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Largo, I like your mindset, bro. I like it.
Yeah.
So, you know, y'all are going out as a mother and son duo. And when there's one, it's very easy sometimes because you can make your own decisions, do your own thing. You don't also have to be mindful of another person. When there's two, you have to be mindful of each other. I'm curious, what's your approach going in? Maybe not as far as like the how you're going to interact daily with each other because y'all do that all the time. You're used to doing adventures with one another. But do you guys have a plan in let's just say in case one of you guys gets injured, do you know how you would handle a situation like that?
Absolutely. I throw her to the bears and I run.
He'd be
That's
like,
good.
Katahdin, bye, mom.
Yeah.
See you later. Um, you know, it's not something that we've really talked about in great detail. And maybe we should. And maybe the reason we haven't is because we've kind of operated like this for so long. Early on in our travel lifestyle, we had to be really cognizant of other family members' emotions and their triggers, and their stressors. And everyone has different things that impact them differently. And so we're very aware of that. Like, I get super cranky if I haven't eaten. And so if
Me
we,
too.
if Largo and I are in a space, he'll be able to tell. I self regulate as well too at this point, but I'll be able to tell. And we'll be able to tell and talk to each other about it. If he's stressed about his business and thinking we're not going to make it to the point at a certain time, then we're going to talk about it and we're going to get in a car or whatever, and then we'll come back to that spot in the time being. So we have a really, really open communication within our family, and we have no problem saying to someone, you know what you just said, it really hurt my feelings. And so we talk about things like that. So I don't. I mean, we're going to be together 24/7. We're together a lot now, but he does have, his a little bit of his own life as well, and he has his dad, who's a bit of a buffer too. So, there may be a point where we're like, I'm getting my own tent and I'm hiking my own hike, and I'll see you later. I don't know.
I mean, I definitely say that I will consider myself a bit faster than you, so
Oh,
that
for
will
sure.
be something that I will have to consider, just to kind of go a little bit slower.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I
Yeah,
mean,
because that's
it's hard to hike with people. I mean,
yeah.
it's actually it's tiring it's tiresome to me to match someone else's pace because you've got your own pace, the other person has theirs. I was hiking with my wife, and like I'd tell her go ahead because I like to take breaks and I'll catch up, or I'd go ahead and blast on by and then take a few breaks and she'd catch up. But you can always catch up in camp or
Yeah,
town,
and
even.
I mean, he's 16 and he's hiked before. So once we kind of get our trail legs under us, we probably will do that from time to time. And, we're going to I've kind of started gathering this now, like some books on tape, and different things that we can play when we need a break from each other and maybe talk about at mealtime. Largo doesn't meditate. I'm hoping it'll rub off on him, but I do meditate to center myself, and also if I'm not being the best version of myself or maybe not a good hiking partner. And we will talk about that. No one's perfect. I'm not perfect, and we're definitely going to have our bad days. So we're going to have to be really, really in tune with each other. And if we're just having a couple bad days, we'll just get off. We'll just get off the trail and we'll take a break, right? And maybe we'll both get our own room at someplace and just take a breaker from each other.
How do you guys see y'all interacting with other folks out on trail? Because you've got each other. Your husband's also going to be your dad. He's going to be out there, um, as well to cheer you guys on, support you, and be with you. How do you see yourself interacting with other hikers? Do you see a very social hike, maybe a less social hike than
What do you
average,
think?
or
I see kind of like an average social hike
Yeah.
in a sense. I think that we're definitely going to enjoy time alone, but I think that we're also going to be interested in kind of everybody's story and how they got there.
I mean, that would be the same exact answer. We the besides the traveling and the benefits I said of the family of four and everything that's come of that over the last 10 years, the second best thing is not the monuments, and it's not the food, although the food's been really good. It's the people
Mhm.
we meet along the way. And so we haven't been, Largo was really little when he was exposed to massive amounts of Americans. And so this is kind of new for him. And I think
They're
I'm
crazy.
excited. Yeah, I'm excited for him to kind of get to know his birth country people, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what you'd call that. And experience the great benefit, another great benefit of this lifestyle is that our kids have gotten to meet people from all over the world and all different walks of life, and different ways of doing life, and also of varying ages. So he hasn't only been around his peers, which has brought great value to his life. And from everything I've seen, and I haven't seen a lot, and I haven't watched a ton of vlogs or read a lot because we haven't had much time with work and kind of deciding this like last minute. But the people on the trail seem to be really unique and diverse and open and giving. And whenever you can communicate with someone like that, you learn something new, right? Maybe you learn something about a new career or a new way of living, or you learn something about yourself. So not only am I excited for that for him, I'm excited for that for myself, because I haven't had that experience for a decade as well. So
And I
Yeah.
definitely say that kind of the community surrounding the AT is
it's
also another kind of a very good benefit about it, because I definitely think that that is a kind of a very interesting thing to kind of find out what people are doing and kind of why.
yeah,
But
like
yeah.
what kind of a person What kind of a nut job goes and walks for 6 months? Like, right? I
Yep.
mean, those are our people. They're crazy. Who does that? I mean, when I
Yep.
tell people we're going to do this, they've said this is insane. You guys do crazy stuff, but this is insane. And I'm like, really? You think this is crazier than crossing an ocean? These are good friends that I'm usually talking to that say this, and they said, yeah, normal people don't do this. And I'm like, I guess it's crazy. I don't know, but I want to meet the other crazies that are doing this, right? I
Yeah.
mean, and I want to know, I mean, we have this podcast, The Why Matters, because my partner and I want to know why people do the things they do. And coming on on a hike like this, like, why are these people doing this? Why
Yeah.
are they giving up these comforts of home to go sleep in the woods and, carry around a pea cloth on the back of their bag and bidet and forage for their water? Like, what kind of a person is doing this? And that is so inspiring and just gets me just like wanting to get into their heads and be like, why are you doing this?
I think it's a lot better in the long run, instead of fixating on the what's in life, and really getting down to the crux of, all right, why? Asking. I think we're all better off if we're curious people. We're asking each other
Yeah.
why are people the way they are? Why is the world the way it is? Why are things happening? Um, and Largo, like your mom said, you can come over here, experience American culture. On the AT, you can wear a cowboy hat and eat McDonald's all day,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and not lose weight, which is crazy.
Right.
Um,
And I think
but
the oddest thing about it is the US is one of the countries that I've almost visited the least. I'd say that in a sense of starting from when we started traveling to now, I'd say that was one of the countries that I've made an effort to and still visited less.
Yeah. I mean, there was COVID took on a big part. But when we
mm,
left, we were just, like for holidays, like for Christmas and stuff, we invited family to come stay with us because we left when I was in my early 40s. And Largo turned 7 on our first month of travel. So he was really literally 16 now. And we decided that we were going to have these different experiences with different holidays and celebrating Christmas in different countries. And so we've been back to visit family, and the longest we've been back is 3 weeks at a time. And then we
wow,
had a big hiatus during COVID. So he Largo has friends all over the world and American friends and a sister, and we have close contact with family. But he hasn't experienced this culture really since he was very little. And kind of under like our wing because he was still so little, he was experiencing the culture through our eyes and what we exposed him to.
Yeah.
So now he's going to experience the culture. I mean, we're still going to be together, but he's going to experience it with a completely different lens, which is really exciting and interesting and, you know, amazing.
that is, yeah. You'll have a very unique lens for sure. So I want to ask you guys to think about something here. I'm doing this experiment. So what I'm going to do is, when we get together, once you get up to near the halfway point, that's where I'm at. I'm near the Shenandoahs, Harper's Ferry, Front Royal, that whole area. Um, we're going to sit down, and I'm going to show you a clip of our conversation right now. And so what I want you to do right now is, I want you to think about what you would say individually, or together, what you would say to your future self midway through your Appalachian Trail journey.
Should we close our eyes and
You can take your time.
I think I just spit on the microphone.
Largo, don't do that.
I'm sure you have an answer right away.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
knew it.
I
What's your
mean,
answer?
my answer would just be if I've gotten halfway, there's no reason to stop there, and I know I can do it. So, kind of, congratulations on getting halfway, me.
Time for a bagel.
Absolutely.
Oh boy, what would I say to myself? Oh, do you want to answer for me?
I don't actually know.
um, that's a tough one. Well, so I wear one of the necklaces I wear. It says "Find joy in the journey," and my mom gave it to me over 10 years ago when we made a decision to leave the United States and go travel full time. We gave ourselves 12 months to sell all of our possessions, figure out medical care, figure out how to make. I had a business at the time, make my business remote, how to educate the kids, all this stuff. And that year was really hard and really awful. And partway through it, my mom gave me this necklace because I had my eye on the prize, and I was not finding joy in the journey. And I was going to miss out on a whole year of journey that would have really impacted me profoundly. And when she gave me this, it kind of was like a, okay, wake up, be present. You're going to get to this goal, but be where you are. So I hope myself is saying to myself saying to myself, that sounds kind of weird, right? Um, that, give me a pat on the back and saying you've paused and you've found joy in the journey and you've been present, and you've connected deeply with Largo, and congratulations. And it sounds so simple and so easy, but I'm very type A, and I'm a perfectionist, and I've done a lot of therapies and different self-care stuff in 2023, to help me not be such a workaholic and a perfectionist and type A, and always feeling like I'm not doing enough. And so if I can go through this journey and get to the halfway point and look back and say that I've been present, and I found joy in the journey, and I haven't worried about work and all this other stuff at the same time, I'll be so proud of myself. I'll be so proud of myself, because I am going to have to I'm going to have to work a little bit on the trail. I'm really good at working while I'm like brainstorming in my head while I'm walking, and at night, and I can work from my phone, and my partner's going to hold down the rest of our business. But I'm not going to be able to completely separate. And so it's going to be a challenge for me to always stay in the moment and find joy in the journey. So that's what I want. And yeah, I want to get to Catan like Largo. Woohoo!
Absolutely.
That's well said. Well, I thank you for being gracious with your time apart from everything else. This truly was a unique conversation. I love the tandem. I think your personalities, just from what I'm observing, complement each other very well. And I think it's going to go a long way on your trail journey. And I'm excited to follow along. And if we can follow up maybe before the halfway point, great. If not, then I look forward to talking with you guys again at that point. But let me know if I can be of any resource for you guys. I'm sure you've got it from here. Done all your research. Now you just got to get out there. So thank you
Thank you.
for your
Really, thank you
time.
so much for having us and welcoming us, and um, kind of having us on here. Like I said, we were a very spontaneous decision. So we're still working out a lot of things. And I was kind of hesitant to come on because I didn't want to set, a bad impression for other people that are thinking about doing this, that just wing it. We've basically fast tracked this. And so we've done a lot of stuff. We still have a long way to go and a lot to learn. But that's kind of how we roll in life. If we wait until we're ready, we're never going to go anyplace. And it's served us well. But I really am grateful that you thought that we had something that would be of help and assistance to others. And we look forward to talking to you again. We look forward to kind of meeting people that are watching this out on the trail. And we look forward to, I don't know, having a great time, I
Yeah,
guess.
having a good hike. Yeah, absolutely. This was a blast.
So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. All right. We'll catch up soon.